And welcome to the H&N Digital Center for another edition of the Long Game Podcast. Today's guest, Jarinn Akana, a longtime sports agent, I would say one of the most successful sports executives to come out of Hawaii, a decorated career, working with some of the NBA's best players. So this is incredible to have you in studio. A ton of advice and insight from you, I'm sure, a ton of life experiences. So it is so great to have you in studio, Jarinn.
I appreciate it, Mark. Pretty lofty introduction there, but I'm happy to be here. You and I have talked a little, but I'm glad to be here just to talk story and kind of share a few things that I've been through, I've learned, and, things that I've been able to accomplish throughout my career. And you mentioned the NBA agent side, which was great, but a lot of other things that, I'm proud of that I've done that I'd like to share today.
And it times out perfectly that you're in town because you live in Utah full time. How long have you been living up there?
Going on 5 years now.
Okay.
Ever since COVID hit, I was living in Los Angeles and needed to kind of make a move. The main reason was in Utah, they continue playing sports. And even during COVID, they played a 15-game season. And a lot of kids from Hawaii ended up going to Utah to play football and play sports. And so California was shut down just like Hawaii, and made the decision to move and go to Utah. And it's been a great move. Going on 5 years, I live in Orem, and my kids go to Orem High School. And so it's been great for the kids. They love it. I'm LDS, so, we great community, good for the family. And I still can't handle the cold. The weather is a problem for me, but if the family's happy, I'm happy.
How many kids do you have? Because one of your boys, Kaue, just recently played in the Polynesian Bowl.
Yeah, so I have 4 kids. My oldest is Kaiki. He's 21. Just got back from his mission in Brazil. Went to Ribeirão Preto. So he was there for 2 years. My second is Kaue. He's 18. He just graduated early in December and played football at Orem, signed with BYU, and then going on a 2-year mission now, going to Brazil South mission in Sao Paulo. So he'll be there in February, which is a month away. And then my third son is Kaio. Kaio is 16. He's a sophomore at Orem High School, plays football, plays safety, and deep cornerback. So, he's the next one coming up and working hard. My daughter, Melanie, is my youngest. She's 14 in the 8th grade and probably my best athlete, Mark. She plays on the 17 and under women's volleyball team in Brazil. So she's on the national team. My wife is from Brazil. My wife, Carla. My life, my everything. She is from Rio de Janeiro. So we'll get into that part of it, I'm sure. But, she's in charge of my daughter, the volleyball side. She played volleyball at BYU Hawaii. That's how we met. And so volleyball is, she's in charge of that with my daughter. But my daughter is doing well. She'll play in the World Championships in Chile for 17 and under this coming summer. So
that's impressive.
We got stuff to look forward to.
You must be so proud.
Yeah, you never know how proud you are until you sit in the stands and you watch and you just kind of go, man, I don't know how they do this. I know the work they put in, but a lot of these kids, especially your own, when they're out there playing, I've played, but I used to get nervous, but not as nervous as when I'm a parent sitting in there watching my kids. Different.
Yeah. The Akana Ohana Can you provide context on how big this family is? Because it seems like in every sport there is an Akana making an impact. So there must be something in the water in Molokai that is all these successful athletes.
So our family actually started on Oahu. I went to Wilson Elementary in the kindergarten, and then
So did I.
yeah, okay,
Yes,
all right.
okay.
So little nugget there,
Uh-huh.
and I have three older brothers, Brian, Stanton, and Rylan. Brian went to Kaimuki High School, graduated from Kaimuki. My brother Stanton went to Kamehameha, and he played on the 75 and 76 Prep Bowl championship teams at Kamehameha. He played middle linebacker. Played with Blaine Geisen, Vernon Ramey, Casey Kunitomo. Some of these like
Stack team.
yeah, like they were good. Talk about recruiting. I mean, that's those guys are recruiting somehow. And the head coach at the time was Willie Chai, I think, was the head coach. I was 5 years old at the time. I used to remember going to the games at Aloha Stadium and watch the Prep Bowl. So we started here. We moved to Molokai in 76 when I was 6 years old. We moved. And so my older brothers were kind of,
they're out of high school already.
Graduated, yeah.
Okay.
Stanton went on to BYU, and then he ended up going on a mission. Brian went on a mission. So Brian went to Nagoya, Japan. Stanton went to the Hawaii mission, but was serving down in Palau and Yap, the Micronesian islands. And then Rylan, my brother above me, went on his mission to Quebec, Canada. So just, all those things are going on. I'm 6 years old. We moved to Molokai, and we moved to the east end of Molokai.
What was the motivation for that move?
My dad loved to hunt.
I see.
And it's crazy. He loved to go hunting. He loved to go fishing. And Molokai kind of offered that. And my mother is from American Samoa. She's from a village called Poloa on the north side of Tutuila, which is American Samoa. And so she grew up on the ocean, fishing. The water was right there. And we went on a trip to Molokai one time, and we stayed out on the east side. Mama Poka had a house, this, lady, family friend. And I mean, in the morning, the tide used to go out, and my mother used to walk out on the reef and, grab squid and like all kinds of stuff. And I was like, how does she know this? She grew up in Samoa and she lived on the ocean. So when she did that, she told my dad, you know what? I love Molokai. It reminds me of back home. And so that's how we moved. And my dad was like, great. I'd love to go to Molokai. If you can handle it, let's go. And so that's what happened. 76, we moved, lived on the east side of Molokai. And I went to Kilohana Elementary. And it was funny because coming from Honolulu, going to Kilohana, which is on the east side, the Hawaiian kids, they're rough, man. They looked at me as like the haole kid, right? Coming from Honolulu and,
the townie.
Yeah, I'm like the townie. I don't know. I think I dress a little different too. My parents dressed me, which didn't feel comfortable with, Everyone over there just came shorts, t-shirt, and no more slipper. And so I got there. I think I got into like a fight every day for the first week. They just were picking on the townie, and that kind of helped me adjust. And I had to fight my way back. If I didn't fight, they're gonna keep picking on me.
How big was your elementary school class?
In my class, there were 15 kids.
Okay.
15 kids, and I probably fought about 5 of them. The first week, they just kept coming, man. Oh, I remember Duki Kalipi, Ronald. Shoot. Anyway, the family right there, Molokai, yeah. and you know, Moki Kalilikane, all these guys would just come, and so I I had to fight, and then they accepted me, and the rest is history.
I'm sure a lot of these kids became some of your best friends after a certain point.
Best
To this
friends.
day, I imagine.
We grew up playing, little league baseball, bitty basketball, and one of my really good friends, Junior Kaholoa, he's still, whenever I go back, I stay with him, and just great times, growing up, and Molokai in itself, raised me and taught me, values that I carry till today. Just the land, going hunting. I learned to hunt. My dad used to go out. Some of my best memories with my father have been hunting and fishing. Like, those are the things I remember. And so, yeah, Molokai was, it wasn't easy, but it was, we struggled. We didn't have much, but we had the island. And in fact, my dad had brought a Holstein cow from Oahu, and we used to milk it. Gave us like 8 gallons a day of milk, 4 in the morning, 4 in the evening. And, I had to go milk the cow too. And so he would barter. He would take the milk, put them in the mayonnaise bottle, right? The gallon bottles, and go take it to our neighbor. Hey, we give you milk, give us some fish, give us some vegetables from your garden or your farm. And that's how we kind of grew up. So milking a cow at 5 in the morning wasn't easy, but that's what we did, and I was able to do that growing up.
Are you still an outdoorsman?
Only when I come back.
Yeah.
In Utah, no way. Too cold and not familiar. I went hunting there probably once. Never again. Too cold, and just hunting season is not fun. Whenever I go back to Molokai, though, I go back, and that's the great thing about it. Now that I'm older, growing up, I want to get away from Molokai. I gotta go to Honolulu, and thinking that that's great. And I've been to many places. Nothing hits like home. Going back to Molokai and just enjoying, just putting your feet on the ground and remembering all the old times, and seeing some of the old timers there. Man, it's just great.
You're a graduate of Molokai High School?
Correct. 1988.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So how did the path go from Molokai back to Honolulu?
My way of leaving Molokai was playing basketball. I started playing, I played all the sports, played baseball, basketball. In high school, I played volleyball too. We used to go to the beach all the time, just enjoy the outdoors on Molokai. But I think I was in the 8th grade at the time, 14. And my father kind of sat me down. Just to give a little context of my father, he was a NCAA national champ in boxing. In 1959, he won the national championship at San Jose State. So my dad, being a boxer is not easy. You got to train. If not, you can get beat up in the ring. And so my dad grew up in Papakolea, and his parents divorced when my dad was 4, and he had 3 other siblings. It was my dad, Nick Akana, his sister Margaret, Auntie Marge, and then his brother John, and then his sister, she's the youngest, Auntie Rosie. And so they grew up with their grandmother, pure Hawaiian, in Papakolea. And my dad, grew up rough and tumble, fighting all the time. But he went to McKinley High School. He ended up boxing down at Kalakaua Gym. And long story short, he didn't tell his grandmother that he was boxing because she wouldn't allow it. And he used to go in the morning, say, I got to go to school early. I got to do stuff. Went and trained at Kalakaua every morning. Went to school. When he was 16 years old, he fought for the territorial championship against the 25-year-old Marine at Block Arena. And he won. He won the territorial championship at 16. And so he woke up the next morning. My grandmother was reading the newspaper, the Honolulu Advertiser back in the day. I mean, whatever they had back then. And my dad, got up in the morning like he was going to school again or to go work out. And she used to call him Butch. Butchie, what is this? And he goes, finally, she saw it, what he was doing. The night before, he just won the territorial championship. And so
he must have been really good to not have any marks on his face.
Well, that was, and the key, he said, was I had to train, I had to be good, or else any little thing on my face, my grandma would see. So he said I was good at dodging, defending to make sure I don't get hit. And so from then on, she told him, said, Butchie, if you're going to do this, you better work hard and you better be the best. And he said he took that, and he said, okay, Grandma, don't worry, I won't let you down. And he did. He went to college, was able to be the first in his family to get a degree in interior designing at San Jose State, and was a national champion. The only regret he has is not being able to go to the Olympics, because that was in 1959. 1960 was the Olympics. And his college head coach, Julian Menendez, at San Jose State, if you win the national championship as a team, you become the Olympic coach. So he was the Olympic coach, and he told my dad, Nick, you have to come. You got to come and try out. The guys that are going to be there, you already beat. You'll be on the national team. You'll be representing in the Olympics in Rome. And that year, a guy by the name of Cassius Clay was with the Olympic team in 1960, and later became Muhammad Ali. Mm-hmm. My dad never went. He was tired of school. He didn't want to be there, and he didn't go. That was his only regret in life. And so he always told us growing up, the only regret I had was that not going to the Olympics. I would have been there. I would have, possibly medaled, and I would have trained with Muhammad Ali. But so just the context, my dad, his background, the accomplishments that he had. And I'm sitting there with my dad, and he tells me, he said, Jarinn, you need to go to college. I was the first in my family, he said, and in order to go to college, he says, we don't have money. We cannot pay for you to go to college. You have to get a scholarship. There's something called a scholarship that you can get from a school that will allow you to go to school for free. And I'm thinking, scholarship, man, okay. And I felt, what a way to help my parents and not have them pay for school. I can get one. From that day on, I played different sports, and I settled on basketball. I just said, I'm going to play basketball. I'm going to get a scholarship, and put in the work, and, the rest was history. It's funny because my dad knew what hard work was. I didn't know. I thought I was working hard. But, I would go to early morning seminary, which is a class for the Mormon church. The kids go to, class early in the morning, and then we go to school. So my dad would take me to the gym, and we had the key to the church. They had a little
dad
gym.
Was your basketball coach?
No,
okay.
Never. My dad never coached me. Now, my dad was a coach of all sports. Whatever I played, he would tell me what to do. Even basketball, which his claim was, he scored 36 points in a rec game when he was young. Whether it's true or not, It doesn't matter.
Hey, you'll believe the boxing stories.
I believe the boxing, but the basketball, come on. My dad is 5'6". Like, he didn't play basketball. Anyway, he would take me early to go shoot and to work on my shot early in the morning before seminary. So seminary started at 6. So I had to be there earlier. And even during game day, back then, you had to rest. Hey, rest. No need do too much because game, you got to save your energy for the game. But my dad, Saturday morning before the game, I would go and shoot. Like 9 o'clock in the morning, he goes, Jarinn, you got to go shoot. I'm like, Dad, I cannot. I'll be tired for the game tonight. He goes, baloney, you're young, you can handle. And so, in essence, he would take me to do a shoot around during the day of the game. And that was unheard of at the time. Yeah. And so my dad was kind of forward thinking or just crazy. But I would do that. Nowadays, every basketball team, from the pros to high school, you have a shoot around the day of the game. Yep. And so I used to do that. And my dad, I used to think it was crazy. And even the coach go, hey, Jarinn, I heard you've been practicing the day before the game. You got to rest. You got to rest. I tell my dad, he goes, baloney. Let me talk to the coach. I go, no need, Dad. Let him go. I'll do it. I'll do it if that's what you want to do. And so I did. And I think it actually helped me. For sure it helped me. I was always a little sharper on the court, and I would make shots. And so that's what I was used to, that growing up. And I did that. And so all that, my dad kind of prepared me, learning that the scholarship is attainable, and that, if I worked hard and did those things, I would be able to do that. So,
so your team at Molokai made some noise.
Yeah. Fortunate. Had a couple really good teammates that, because you can only do so much, and you need guys around you to help, no matter what it is. Other people make you look good. You make yourself look like an a-hole sometimes, right? Some of the things you do. So the people around, the players around me at the time,
and you were the point guard,
were good. I kind of played a little bit of everything, I was 6'1", and so one of the taller guys, so I had to play inside, I had to play outside, which ended up being a good thing. I was always short growing up. 7th, 8th grade, 9th and 10th grade is when I grew. And so all my guard skills translated, I was just bigger now, and I still could do everything. And it allowed me to, handle the ball against bigger guys and be more of a weapon. The smaller guys I would take inside, post them a little. The big guys wouldn't come out. And in 1988, they started the three-point line. And my average went up because I said, man, I can score 3 points instead of 2 if I shoot this shot. And so I made threes. And, leading up to my senior year, I played with some really good players. Henry Davis, Kavika Crivello, Michael Helm, Malcolm Helm. These were guys who were older than me, but, I played some games as a freshman, which was unheard of. My sophomore year was probably my biggest jump. Made the All-Star, the Maui Interscholastic League. But because those guys were already established, I was able to kind of come from behind. Nobody really expected me, and I played well. My sophomore year, my junior year, we were good, but not enough to contend. But my senior year, now I was the senior. I had Carter Davis was my wingman. Really good lefty shooter, about 6'3", Howley kid, but grew up in Honolulu in the valley. If you talk to him, it sounds just like me and you, local kind. But Matthew Helm was another one. Joe Kalipi. I mean, these are all kids that I played with senior in high school. There were two big guys that played on that
You
team.
need enforcers.
Man, and we had them. So I'll give you a name you might be familiar with. Kimo von Ohoffen.
Okay.
Scooby. Scooby was my like enforcer. Anybody touch me, he would get him. And Scooby was big back then too. I mean, his hands are so big and strong. And then Kaleo was another big Tongan kid or Samoan kid that lived there. And, you know, he was another big enforcer. I mean, these guys are 6'5", 260. I mean, really big kids. And so, you know, those guys were on the team too. So we had a little bit of everything. And of course, you know, I had a big year. We came to the States. We lost in the semis, but, you know, played real well against University High, James Williams, Brad Stewart. You know, those guys were just too good for us. But played well. The ILH was really strong. You know, I think in the Final Four it was University High, Kamehameha, and Marino, and Molokai. Come on, we shouldn't even be
You
in
guys
there.
must have loved playing Oahu teams.
Yeah,
Kind of sent a message a little bit.
yeah. You know, for me, I looked at it as a challenge, and I knew I could play with these guys because, beside my dad and my mom, who were big influences on my life, there are a lot of people that, you know, put time into help forming me as a youngster, whether it was in church, you know, or in school, or just in the community. And so one of the, and this is a crazy story. I can tell a whole hour just about this. But Merv Lopes, the legend, Merv Lopes and my dad were in college together. They're roommates at San Jose State. Merv Lopes played football. He was a tight end on the football team. My dad was boxing at the time. And so Merv used to go to all the boxing matches. You know, the locals, they're punchy. You know, they like to go watch the fights and stuff.
So no one's messing with either of these guys then?
No. And so Merv and my dad were, you know, close in college. And so the backup tight end to Merv Lopes at San Jose State was a guy by the name of Bill Walsh.
Okay. Wow.
And so, and Merv and Bill, my dad knew Bill because Bill used to come hang out, you know, and, but Merv and Bill continued the relationship. And like, you know, all the Super Bowls, Bill would invite Merv to come and hang out. And it was funny because, you know, Bill Walsh said, "Hey, Merv, there's this guy we're thinking of drafting out of the University of Hawaii. What do you think about him? Jesse Sapolu." And so, you know, Merv's like, "Jesse's the man. You gotta. And, you know, the rest is history with Jesse." But Merv and my dad had the relationship. And so I used to come down and go to Merv's camps at Chaminade. And some top kids were there at the camp. And this is like back in the 7th, 8th, 9th grade, you know, growing up. So I knew I could play with those guys.
You've seen them.
Those guys didn't scare me.
Yeah.
And like I had to fight when I moved to Molokai. I had to see where I was at. I had to figure out, you know, where I stand with the level of talent in Hawaii. And coming to Honolulu was always a challenge. And I took it a little with a grain of salt, little chip on my shoulder that, you know, I needed to represent. And I did. And just that mindset of coming the underdog, trying to, you know, get at what these other guys had, allowed me to gain confidence, allowed me to play. And Tony Salido, who coached Marino, had an all-star team that Dave Shutter used to sponsor, the lawyer back in the day. Dave was great at helping youth and you know, donating money to help kids go and do things. And so he sponsored our team. It was the Hawaii All-Stars. And we went to Las Vegas. We played in the Las Vegas Invitational. And, on that All-Star team were all the top kids in the state. Jimmy Lactowan, David Horner from Marino, James Williams from University High, Brad Stewart from University High. I was on that team. The kid from Kalaheo, Jeremy, his last name escapes me, but he like just the top kids from all over, and Chris Quick from St. Louis. So I went and we played in Vegas, got our butts kicked, played against Alonzo Mourning, Billy Owens, the kid that went to Notre Dame. He's on TV now. Anyway, like those were the tops in '88. And we got our butts kicked, but just lesson learned, and come back home. I played against those guys. Coming home, I'm not worried about anybody. And so just with that mentality and focus, that's kind of how I played. That's what I leaned on. And, so with all those experiences, Merv Lopes, and I used to come to, Chaminade, the games. My dad used to send me down, and Merv used to take me. I stayed with Merv, go to the games and watch all these big games that they would win. I mean, that was exposure for me to experience and see it like up front, firsthand. So I kind of knew what it was like, and I wanted that. I thrived at getting into that type of atmosphere and environment. And so I would come to Honolulu, go to Merv's camp. My dad tell me, Jarinn, take your worst pair of shoes with the hole, the air conditioning in the front, red dirt all over it. Boss up. So I come down, Merv go, Akana, Jarinn, how you going to play with that shoes? Come on. He take me, give me the brand new Converse that Chaminade was wearing. What size you? I always had big feet. Oh, size 12. Got you. Grab me, give me a new pair of Converse.
Nice.
So I go back home, I use them. When I come back the next year, Merv go, what about the shoes I gave you? I said, man, I forgot them. I bring the air condition again, the Boss-Up shoe. New. So Merv had a contract with Reebok after they had those big wins, and Merv was a celebrity now. He had a brand new contract with Reebok. So Reebok shoe at the time was top of the line. He gave me Reebok shoes. I think my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I wore Reebok. I mean, the newest ones. Nice. I go Molokai. Oh, everybody, wow, Jarinn, how you got that shoe? Oh, my uncle gave me. And so I would take care of them on the court only. Walk off the court, take them off. Wipe them up, keep them good. Next year, I get a new one. And he used to give me the sweatsuit. Uncle Merv was good, man. Uncle Merv took care of me.
How did college recruiting work during that time?
From Molokai, it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
I had been in touch with BYU in Utah. And Liddell Anderson was the coach at the time. And he said, listen, Jarinn, love for you to come. We watch your film. We think you can play here. But I'm probably going to leave in a year. And Randy, the head coach, Roger Reed, was the assistant coach, and he was the next in line. He was going to take over. And he said, Jarinn, Roger has two sons, Robbie and Randy. And so those kids are going to play. They're really good. And I appreciated it. I said, Coach, thanks for the advice. And so I knew I couldn't go there. BYU Hawaii, Chick Hess was the head coach at the time. Jarinn Akana was his assistant. And, they came after me. My father wanted me to go to a church school because he wanted me to go on a mission. Mm-hmm. And like I said, in our family, older brothers went on a mission. That was kind of my call. And so I went to BYU Hawaii my first year. We went to the national championships up in Kansas City, Missouri, the NAIA. Crazy. We beat Hawaii Pacific in a sudden death game. We played on the night before for the championship. We won because they won the league and we won the tournament championship. We had to play off again. So the next night we played again and we beat them. And Tony Solito was a head coach at HPU at the time. And so we made it into the tournament. Great experience playing at BYU Hawaii. While I was on my mission, I went to Chile, South America.
So you did your first season at BYU Hawaii and then went on your mission.
Exactly.
Okay.
BYU Hawaii was my first year. Loved it. Great, kind of stepping stone. Coming from Molokai to BYU Hawaii. I had family there. My grandmother, the Samoan side, is all from Laie. So I have family there. My brother Rylan was living there with his wife Puri, going to school too. And so as I went through my first year, went on a mission, I got called to Chile, South America. And so I went, not knowing Spanish, not knowing anything. I got to Chile. The area was Viña del Mar, beautiful tourist town on the coast of Chile. Weather was beautiful, kind of like Hawaii. Nice beaches. I was tempted to jump in the water a few times and show them my body surfing skills, but couldn't do that. But I was there, served my mission, loved the people there, and the Chilean people were very friendly, God-fearing people, and just great. Remind me a little bit of Hawaii, the way they receive people, and my Spanish got really good. I was able to speak after 2 years. Had great experiences. Going on a mission, talking about Christ, talking about religious things, it's not easy. It's like trying to sell ice to the Eskimos. They're not trying to hear that, right? But, talking about those things and just the growing as a person spiritually and going through that whole thing, no better thing. I wouldn't change it. There were tough times now because of what, you get out there, and there's not always good people out there, but just the ones that you find you're able to build relationships with and, see them change, help me grow as a person. When I first went on my mission, I thought I knew everything. I was a good basketball player, on the court, very confident. My vision or blinders were allow me to see, here. After the mission, everything changed,
Puts things in perspective.
Just put things from a spiritual standpoint, physical standpoint, and just the bigger vision in life. Like this is what the joy is about. And the lasting joy. So I was able to experience that for 2 years. I was in the second year. I think I had probably 6 months left on my mission. I got a call, and I was in a small town called Limache. And Limache, there's only one phone in the whole town. And it was at the market, at the little store in that town. I probably lived about...
What year is this?
This is in 89. So to 91, I was on my mission. So this was 90, in between halfway, 6 months before I was done with my mission. I was in a little town. And, at the time, you can only talk to your parents 2 times a year.
Wow.
Mother's Day, to call your mom, and Christmas were the only 2 times. And man, to make a call during those days from Chile to Hawaii was expensive. And so, we only could talk short, couldn't really talk long.
And no calls on Father's Day.
No. The fathers don't get it. Only the mothers. which I can understand. Mothers are special. My mom was a great one. Masina Malufa was her maiden name. Masina means moon. Her full name is Masina Awinga, which is the morning moon. You know when you wake up and the moon is still there? That's what her name was. So anyway, no Father's Day call. Sorry, Dad. But we're out working, proselyting, doing our thing during the day. We get back at 9 p.m. And the lady who we stayed with, who kind of took care of us, fed us, cooked and cleaned and washed our clothes. I was lucky in Chile. I don't know, probably 150 a month for our mission. And we stayed in what we call a pension. And they would cook for us. They would fix our bed, clean, wash our clothes, even iron my socks. I was like, man, spoiled, man. I put my socks on a little crunchy, But so all day, get back around 9:30, and there's a message from the mamita, the lady in the pension. She said, Jarinn Akana, I have a message. Your dad called. You need to call him. And in my mind, like 1,000 things went through my mind. All bad. Something happened in the family. Someone died. And so all these things are going through my head. And I go, I got to call my dad now. And my companion's like, but, Elder Akana, it's late. Like, there's no phone. The phone is closed, the store. I said, I got to call now. I'm not going to be able to sleep. So I told him, I said, listen, I'm going. You can catch up with me. And so I ran. I ran from where we were staying to the store, which was probably 2 miles away. And, I wasn't in running shape, but I ran the whole time. In my head, I'm just thinking, praying, I hope it's nothing bad. And I get to the market. Of course, it's closed. I knock on the door, pound on the door, the guy who lives there. And he knew me because we always come in. And, I explained to him in Spanish, hey, I got to call my dad. Very important. Family, matter. And he let me in. I made the call. I called my dad. And I said, Dad, Jarinn here. What happened? Why did you call me? And he goes, Jarinn, I told the message I left was so that you wouldn't worry, that everything was okay. I said, well, they forgot that part, And so I'm over here like my heart is pounding. And he goes, Jarinn, nothing bad. He said, I got a phone call from Riley Wallace today. And my dad was friends with one of the boosters at the time, Rodney Toyama. And so Rodney put Riley in touch with my dad, in contact with him. And so he talked to my dad, and he told my dad, listen, we need a point guard next year. I know Jarinn's coming home. We'd like to offer him a scholarship to the University of Hawaii. We just lost our top point guard, Troy Bowl, and we need a point guard because I have Phil Lott, and who was the other guard that kind of got into trouble? He was really good though. Oh. The name escapes me. I said that twice now, so getting old, Mark. But anyway, those two guys were the main scorers. And he said, I need somebody to get them the ball. Okay. So they don't fight, so we don't have any problems on the team. And so my dad said, listen, I appreciate you calling. Jarinn's on a mission. It'd be hard to get in touch with him. But I'll try to get in touch with him, talk to him, and let him know so he can think about it. So I said, okay. So that was what the message and the call was about. And I told my dad, thank goodness, it was that. And I told my dad, listen, let me think about it. Tell Riley I'll call him in a week, and love to talk to him about it. And so my dad said, perfect, no problem. Think about it. Let us know. And I'll tell Riley in a week, you'll give him a call. So now during that week, I'm thinking, what am I going to do after my mission? I can go to back to BYU Hawaii. I can try to go to BYU. I can, go different places. But something, told me, I prayed about it. I thought about it the whole week. I fasted, in fact. And the answer I was getting was Hawaii, And in my head, I'm thinking, I've been away from Hawaii for 2 years. I've been in a foreign country. I don't want to leave home. I want to go back. I want to go home. I want to stay home. And that's what it ended up being. And so in a week, I called Coach Wallace. I talked to him on the phone. Coach Wallace did a little rash, growling voice. Hey, Jarinn, we'd love to have you here. I said, well, Coach, let me ask you a question. I hear you want me to come. You need me on the team. And, up to that point, the local players or local kids from Hawaii, I don't know if it's just my thinking, but never really had the opportunity to really play and be a, important part of the team or really, have a big role on the team. And so I was thinking, Coach, will I have an opportunity to play? I don't just want to come home and sit on the bench and be the token local kid that is on the team.
Because there's always just one or two local kids that are on the team.
Yeah, it was never, wasn't popular. Not local kids coming and playing at the University of Hawaii. Football, yeah. Basketball, no. And so, I asked him the question, and Riley was really straightforward. He said, Jarinn, listen, I've watched you play. I think you're talented, and I wouldn't be calling you and having this conversation if I didn't think you could play. Now, you're going to have to compete. We have guys coming from New York and Texas that are coming in that we're recruiting. But, I think you are a guy that can come in and do well. And so the last question I asked him, which was important, I said, Coach Wallace, do I get a scholarship? Because in my head, I wanted a scholarship. My dad had taught me about that. And so he goes, 100%, Jarinn. You'll be on a full ride scholarship. I said, what does full ride mean, though? He goes, you won't have to pay a penny. And I was going, Coach, that's what I wanted to hear. Okay. I think I'm ready to commit to you, and I'm coming home, and I'm going to be a Rainbow Warrior. Nice. And so that's how that kind of played out, throughout my mission. When I was done, I came home. I came home in July and came back and started getting back into the grind and playing. Now, my first year, I got injured. I hurt my knee just because it was hard. 2 years off, not being able to do, any kind of activity like that. I hurt my knee. But I played the first, I think, 4 or 5 games of the season. I started. I was a starting point guard. And we played Arizona in one of our classics in the championship game of one of our tournaments. Started and, played okay. I mean, it wasn't great, but I got the ball to the guys who needed to get the ball.
It must have felt good.
Yeah, it was really good. And just, my basketball career at the University of Hawaii, it was different, but, I had a great experience. The University of Hawaii was great to me.
What was it like playing for Riley Wallace?
Now, if you ask 10 people that question who played for Riley, you get 10 different answers. Like Riley was on a different level. And when I say that, um, Riley was hardcore and he didn't mess around. In practice, he would yell, he would get on you, um, just to try and pull out the best of you.
Because the fans see him toss his jacket in the late second half of a game. That's nothing to what you guys would see in practice, I can imagine.
No, like, but yeah, the public would see Riley growling on the sidelines and yelling and all those kind of things. But the one thing I can tell you about Riley is Riley was tough. He was like, old school. I mean, he would make us run and run if we wouldn't get it right. He would yell at you, belittle you, and do all of that. But at the end of the day, he would put his arm around you, and you knew that Riley cared for you. And Riley would stand up for his players. And even if they would get into, scrapes with the law or stuff like that, Riley would stand up for his players. And that's one thing that Riley did, and I respect it. And I knew Riley Wallace loved me. I knew he did. Even, if he didn't treat me that way. And I grew up with tough love. I mean, my parents weren't, "Oh, Jarinn, you okay?" No, get up and, carry on. And, we used to get lickings growing up. Everybody did, I think, Mark.
I did.
We did.
Yep.
And so I was okay with that part of Riley, the tough part.
Right.
But the loving, caring part, like Riley would do things that people didn't see.
Yeah.
And one of them, I'll mention it now. So my mother passed away, and right before my senior season, she had the aorta valve split, and so she passed away within minutes. And she was leading the church choir on a Sunday, and just passed away. The Lord took her from us, and it was tough, really tough for me, because my mother, in my life and for my siblings and my family, she was the glue. She really taught us, the loving, caring part of it. And so she took care of our family. There's 10 kids. So, you have to be a different type of person to have 10 kids, care for them, everybody graduate from school, go to college, do all that. Like, it's a different level. She passed away. And one of the first person to come and see me in my dorm room while I was a mess, just crying and in bed and couldn't, handle it. Riley came. I can still remember like it was yesterday. He sat on my bed and he said, "Jarinn, anything you need, I got you." And, at the time, and he gave me $100 bill. And he told me, "Go home." Because I didn't have money to fly home to Molokai. But he gave me the $100 bill. He said, "Fly home tomorrow. Go home. Be with your family." And, to me, that's who Riley Wallace was. And I love him. I owe him a lot. Taught me a lot of lessons. But you asked the question, and I'm sorry, to get emotional. But, Riley, that's who Riley Wallace was to me. and heck of a coach, one of the best at the University of Hawaii. And, I'm just thankful and lucky to have played for him. And he was the right guy at the right time at the University of Hawaii. And, things I learned from him and his wife, Joan, were, helped me throughout my life. And so, that to me was Riley Wallace. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. You talk with people about him. This is someone that, the players, you form authentic, genuine, and sincere relationships. And, to have coaches like that is beyond special.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Riley was a good one. So
after UH, what was your next move?
So I got to talk a little bit about my UH, kind of playing days from the perspective of my senior year. We went to the NCAA tournament, Mark, which had never been done at the University of Hawaii since the Fab Five. So it was 22 years before a UH basketball team went to the NCAA tournament. And it was a tough year.
Was that the expectation going into the year?
No.
You guys were close to...
And Mark, this is what I'll tell you. And to kind of put it in perspective, we went to the Great Alaska Shootout my senior year. Now, the Great Alaska Shootout was one of the biggest tournaments at the time in Alaska. We get there, we're thinking we're going to have a good year, right? We end up losing to the Portland Pilots.
Yeah.
Portland Pilots by 40 points in Alaska. After that, we play Wake Forest, which was, Tim Duncan was a freshman at the time. We play Wake Forest. We lose by 30 points.
Progress.
Man. Yeah, we lost by 30 instead of 40.
Okay.
We play NC State. We get killed by 40 again. And so, we're not feeling too good about ourselves. We go to... So, it was ice cold in Alaska, and we played that way. I was 0 for 12 from 3 in those 3 games.
Nightmare.
Just bad.
Yeah.
And like Riley, he's starting to lose hairs by now. 0 for 12. Now, we're in Alaska now. You know where Alaska is. Our next game, I don't know who made this schedule, but we played this team in the Rainbow Classic earlier, the year before. So the year before my junior year in the Rainbow Classic, the semifinals in the Rainbow Classic was North Carolina. They had Eric Montross, Derek Phelps, Donald Williams.
Just loaded.
Loaded. They won the national championship that year. Michigan, the Fab Five, was in the tournament. Kansas was in the semifinals.
What a tournament.
And it was Hawaii. It was us. And so we're playing the Rainbow Classic semifinal. We play Kansas. We lose. Michigan beats North Carolina in the final. No, in the semifinal on a last-second shot by Jalen Rose. Makes a floater in the lane. They beat North Carolina. So it was North Carolina and Kansas in the final. I think Kansas might have won, or I forget who won that. All Blue Bloods and us. So we lose in the semi, so we play North Carolina in a third-place game. I had 18 points, had a really good game. Dean Smith, Fabio Ribeiro was our forward at the time. And Fabio was playing a little dirty, so Dean Smith calls me over. I walk by the bench and he goes, "Hey, Akana, tell Ribeiro to stop playing dirty." So I look at him and go, "Coach, I'll tell him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
don't
right.
worry.
Oh, don't
You
worry.
got it covered.
Don't worry, coach. I got you. And so we ended up playing them. Funny story. After I'm done playing, I'm on a plane from, Hawaiian Airlines used to fly to Molokai, Lanai, and then back to Honolulu. I went back to Molokai to go visit, hang out. I get on the plane, Hawaiian Airlines. We fly to Lanai. Guess who walks on the plane? Dean Smith and his wife.
Oh, man.
Because, Nike has their top coaches on Lanai. They go and, do a little coaches
Launch it
retreat
to it.
over there. Yeah, they hang out. They do whatever they do over there. And Nike always does that for their top coaches. So he gets on the plane. And, I don't want to, I'm just kind of sitting there and, he walks in and make eye contact. I go, how you doing, coach? He goes, how's it going? He walks by. He sits probably the row behind me on the other side. And I feel a tap on my shoulder. He goes, Akana, great to see you, man. How are you doing? It's Coach Smith. Like, I'm stunned he would remember, And so that was a little trip. And, we talked the whole way back from Lanai to Honolulu on the plane. Great conversation. The point I'm making is we fly from Alaska, which is northwest, the highest northwest north you can go, to Chapel Hill in North Carolina. I don't know, it must have been like a 12-hour, 13-hour. We had to stop in Seattle and then Seattle down to North Carolina.
Sounds miserable.
Bro, we just lost 3 games. Nobody wanted to go play that game. And we're there at the National Championship ring ceremony. Because the year before, after the Rainbow Classic and all that, North Carolina beats the Fab Five in the NCAA championship game. They're getting their rings the night they play us. How bad can it be? So we get there, we play the game. I have a career night. I was 6 out of 8 from the 3-point line. I had 28 points. Halftime, we're only down 3. I mean, we're playing pretty good.
Yeah, giving them a fight.
At the end, we end up losing by, I think, 12. Respectable game.
Uh-huh.
I have a career high. And after the game, Riley's like, guys, we're okay. We just came down here, played North Carolina. So we played 3 out of our first 4 games, 3 ACC teams. And just got shellacked, like we got beat up. Now we got to travel from North Carolina all the way back to Hawaii.
Man.
And so the reason why I tell you this story is we did not start off that season with great hope. I mean, everybody was like, man, this is going to be another long year. But what that trip and those first games taught us, that, you know what? We played our worst. We can't play any worse than this. And I just had a career game at North Carolina. One that I'm going to tell my grandkids, the story going to live on, for sure.
Great.
And it actually helped me, when I was getting into the NBA and doing stuff. Jarinn, you ever played? I had 28 against North Carolina at the Dean Dome. So everyone, right away, like, okay, this guy, he's for real.
Right.
But we get back that year and we go through the season. Tough season in the WAC. I mean, the old WAC was brutal. Air Force, San Diego State, BYU, Fresno State, Colorado State, Utah.
Okay.
I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah.
That travel schedule, leaving, we have to fly on Tuesday during the week just to get to the next place to play the game on Thursday.
It's such a physical game during that time.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was rough. And the altitude playing in those areas, I mean, it was just bad. So I, getting back to my senior year, we go through a tough WAC schedule. And we're actually not bad. I think we're tied for third or fourth. We're right around there. The top team at the time was New Mexico, the Pit.
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever been there.
No,
Mark, but so the Pit is like crazy. I mean, the fans are all on top of you. And to go to the locker room, there's a ramp that goes straight up. And we used to get bus up. We go play over there. The crowd gets into it. They go on a run of 15-0 run, and that place the roof blows off. I mean, it's just crazy. So New Mexico is number 1, the Lobos. I think BYU is number 2. Fresno State is number 3, and we're number 4. So we're all kind of like we're all close.
Right.
This is what happened. We beat New Mexico during the season. Okay. New Mexico, yeah, we beat them here. And then Fresno beat us. BYU beat Fresno. Okay. And New Mexico beat Fresno.
Okay.
So there was like, I mean, we were all
You're all tied together.
We're all tied together. We're all kind of competitive that way. And so last game of the season, we play San Diego State. If we beat San Diego State, we're now in the bracket for the WAC tournament. If we beat San Diego State, we're in with Fresno and with BYU. Okay? And we couldn't beat Fresno State. That was the team that we couldn't beat. Tark was there at the time. No, Gary Colson was the head coach. And so we end up losing to San Diego State. So now we're in New Mexico's bracket and us. So it's us and New Mexico, BYU and Fresno State on that side, which Fresno State we couldn't beat. So we end up losing that game. We shouldn't have lost, but for whatever reason, it worked out. To this day, Riley will deny it, but maybe he didn't want to be in the bracket with Fresno. Anyway, a friend of mine who played at Fresno at the time, Brian Santiago, who's the AD at BYU now, swears that we threw that game so we didn't have to play there. Go to the WAC tournament. It's at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City. I think the first game we played was Colorado State. We beat them. Now we go to the semifinals. It's us and New Mexico.
Okay.
BYU and Fresno on the other side.
Lines up perfectly.
Lines up perfect. We play in New Mexico. We beat them in the semis. BYU beats Fresno State. So now it's Hawaii and BYU in the final of the WAC tournament.
Perfect.
And we're like, we got this, guys. Tough game. We're down 15 in that game at one point. Trevor Ruffin was our guy. So on that team, Trevor Ruffin, Phil Handy, John Mollet, Kalia McGee,
Alika Smith wasn't there.
Terrence Williams. Alika wasn't. Terrence Williams, Ahmad Ricketts, Tony Maroney was our big guy. So we were solid, really, really good. We had depth. Our big guy, Tony, was good. Trevor was amazing. Phil was athletic, small forward. And John Mollet was just solid, steady, could shoot the three, tough as nails. We come back and we end up beating BYU in the WAC tournament finals. And I still remember the clips, Kalia McGee and I rolling on the ground, like, can't believe it. Coach Wallace is happy, ecstatic. The assistant coach on that team, the assistants were Bob Nash,
Jackson Wheeler?
Jackson Wheeler, and Jamie Dixon. Jamie Dixon was a limited earnings coach, graduate assistant. Jamie was there. So Jamie and I have a really good relationship because at the time, Jamie and I, he would always, Akana, you can't play. He'd always push my buttons that way and, force me to kind of work and get better.
So had yourself,
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Dixon, Phil Handy, longtime successful championship winning NBA assistant.
Yep.
All from that team.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So like I said, great senior year. We went to the NCAA tournament. We played Syracuse.
What seed were you?
We were a 12 seed.
Okay.
Syracuse was 5. And we played the WAC tournament in Salt Lake City. And so Coach Wallace didn't want to fly home to Hawaii and then have to fly back the next week to play in the NCAA tournament. So we stayed in Salt Lake City, watched the NCAA,
bracket reveal,
bracket selection Sunday, and we got picked to play at Weber State in the West region.
Okay, so you can stay.
So we're staying. That's why Riley thought that might happen, and so that's why we ended up staying. We played at Weber State. We played Syracuse. Really competitive, good game. We ended up losing, because of free throws at the end. But I had 18 points, played really well, and Syracuse had, really good players. Adrian Autry was their point guard. Otis Wilson, Lawrence Moulton was the guard, really good. Malik Sealy.
What a run that you guys had that
year. Just crazy. I mean, and played at that high level in the NCAA tournament. I have the NCAA watch that we got. And like I said, first time since the Fab Five. It was 22 years before Hawaii went back to the NCAA tournament. And so great experience.
Looking back on it, thinking how college sports is now, would Jarinn Akana enter the transfer portal after, if he had another year of eligibility after that?
The honest answer is I don't know. Really.
Because you see how sports is,
yeah.
It's crazy, okay? You can capitalize on a good season.
And it's funny, I've been involved on the agent part of it with the NBA, the professional side and how players are paid and how that kind of works. Now that it's in college, I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it for 16 years representing players. But at the end, I don't know. I like the part that players get paid. Like, I think they should. They really should. When I was playing, we couldn't even get a hamburger. We couldn't even get a ride to class. I mean, the NCAA would ding you for that. And so I always felt you got to feed the kids at least. Like, we were struggling back in the day just to get food or to eat, just bad. Now that they're getting paid, I'm happy for that part. But there's still ways that you have to control it. Like in the pros, there's, they have the collective bargaining agreement, the CBA, where, there's things that there's guardrails for it.
Yeah.
There's standards. And listen, I understand the universities want to have representation, but the kids have to have somebody speaking for them too. And that's what the union provides. And I think that's why pro sports and the different leagues are able to kind of at least work to some extent. Where in college now, there's no, they want to have the universities be able to control things. But I still think for players, they need a voice. And I think it makes it easier for both sides when both sides have a voice and both sides can speak. And that allows now for communication and the ability to set the standards moving forward.
And that does it for part one of our conversation with Jarinn Akana. When we sat down, we covered a lot of ground, talking for nearly 3 hours. So part one, we spoke about his time growing up on Molokai, playing at UH. In part two, we will explore his entry into the world of the NBA as both an assistant coach and a powerful sports agent brokering hundreds of millions of dollars worth of deals. Check back in next week for part two. This is the Long Game Podcast.